Muslim, Christian. These are the divisions. These divisions are deep. You see, even in the smallest family unit, you need unity to have stability, peace and progress of that family. Now, translate that into a bigger and more complex country like Nigeria. And therefore, unity is number one.
Atiku knows about diversity. His inner circle reflects the face of Nigeria.
And when you see the crowd around him, the mixture is amazing. There's hardly any ethnic group that's not present around him.
And for you to be admired by the various segments of the citizens of this country, the secret that he has to touch.
The type of leader that Nigeria needs is somebody who will unite the people together. I believe strongly that Atiku Abubakar is that type of leader. So he has so many friends everywhere, among the Christians, among the Muslims, and also outside Nigeria.
People find it safe to rely on him, to rely on what he's saying and what he's doing.
Ability to chart the course and steer the ship.
He understands the problem of this country. He understands the heartbeat of Nigerians.
So I see hope in his leadership.
This man can be trusted. I have no hesitation at all in endorsing him as candidate for president for Nigeria in 2000.
Beautiful time out here on your favorite morning show, Every Woman. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. My name is Tiana Waldbercy, and I'm super excited to have you all join me on today's episode. As you know, I'm not always in the studio alone. I have... Hi
guys, good morning. My name is Ijoma.
IJ,
Yes.
It's good to have you. How's your weekend?
I wish it went well, but I'm under the weather. I feel a bit under the weather. It was a very stressful weekend for me, really.
Oh wow, sorry about that, but you look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You look like you're actually under the weather.
I
All right, so guys, today we'll be talking about something very interesting, and that is gender-based violence. Like we know, gender-based violence is one of the most oppressive forms of gender inequality. It poses a fundamental barrier between equal rights of men and women in the social, economic, and political sphere. So we know for a fact, or let's not say we know for a fact, according to WHO, 1 in every 3 women suffer gender-based violence. And across the globe, we have over 736 million women who suffer gender-based violence from intimate partner or from
non-partners,
regular partners. So it's something that, it's like a continuation of what we talked about last week. It's like a continuation because it still boils down to gender inequality, not giving women the opportunity to be a part of the social, economic, and political face of the entire nation. And like we said, if women actually form the 50% of the entire population, why do women still suffer gender-based violence?
It's just interesting, really, to see that a particular sex is targeted for violence, and that this is a thing, that gender-based violence is an actual thing, where women they undergo abuse just because they are women. We've seen women being referred to as the weaker sex, and I think that a lot of time they are taken advantage of. And it's just sad to see that there's violence against you just because you're a woman.
I saw a very disturbing post of a man in Benue State, I think, that actually used his uncle's wife. Killed his uncle's wife, used her head for pepper soup. Like you were comfortable eating that pepper soup of somebody, of a human being. Now let's forget about the fact that she's a woman. A human being, like your fellow human being. That means you can actually kill another man. No, but it's the truth, because if you can look at a woman who you guys refer to as the weaker sex or weaker vessels, and you kill and eat,
That's sad. That's very sad. I mean, I think the first time I heard this story, it was dark humor. I had this very dark humor that, you know, the woman must have been a sweet lady when she was alive. But it is very, very sad. I don't know how you can murder someone and then go ahead to cut them up. That's just inhumane. Like,
Yeah.
that's one of the probably the most gory story that I've heard. For you to get another human being, kill them, and this woman was probably defenseless. She was probably a defenseless woman, and she was murdered, and you still went ahead. That's premeditated.
The process.
Premeditated.
Yes, you went through the process of killing. Like you said, she probably must have been a sweet woman when she was alive. But this is not funny, because this is just the one we can see. This is the one we've heard about. How about the people that can speak up for themselves? How about the stories that we haven't heard? How about the people that we haven't actually seen? Or people that haven't been talked about? Because obviously, like you said, she was defenseless. They really do not have people to speak on their behalf. And the sweet thing about this is that gender-based violence is not just about violence or abuse on an intimate partner. It goes ahead to talk about child marriage.
I think there's different forms of, if you're really looking at it, gender-based violence can come in any form. It can come in, you know, as emotional abuse or psychological abuse. Physical abuse, I think that's where a lot of people border on and focus on. When you talk about gender-based violence, the first thing that comes to your mind is physical abuse, a man hitting a woman. But it transcends that, it goes beyond that. Like you said, early marriage. These are all forms of abuse. When you're marrying off a little girl without her consent, without, like, a child that is not even prepared, that doesn't know a thing about marriage, when you're marrying off that child, it's still violence against the child, because they're not ready, they're not prepared. So I think we should shift away from that traditional narrative, that narrative in our head when we talk about gender-based violence, and we think it's just physical, that until you hit a woman, you've been violent with her. You don't have to physically touch her to, you know, be accused of violence. I mean, genital mutilation, that's still a form of violence against women.
Yeah, I think that brings us to sexual harassment as well. Like you said, if you marry off a child, I really don't know how satisfying that child can get you as a man, a full-grown man. A full-grown man, let's say in your late 30s, and you're marrying off a 15-year-old. Really? We've seen, according to statistics and data, that ages 13 to 17 have the highest rate, percentage of early child marriage.
I think, as a rule of thumb, this is what you should do with marriage. If a person is not old enough to live on their own, not old enough to take care of themselves, not old enough to take responsibility for certain actions under the law, if they are not old enough to go to jail, to do certain things, then they are probably not old enough to be married.
At all. At all. Like, we're looking at statistics, and it shows that 2020 we experienced a high rate of gender-based violence. Now, let's even be specific: violence against the woman. And I think that as a result of COVID-19, where you have to have a lot of people had to stay one place, there was lockdown, people didn't have to go to anywhere, we saw a high increase of gender-based violence. No, violence against the woman. And it brings me to asking the question, why would you live in the same space with someone that you're not comfortable with?
No, it depends. Some people don't have a choice. And I think that's even the most traumatizing, when you're forced to live with your abuser, when you're forced to share the same space with somebody who abuses you. It's another level of trauma. Because you think about it, and you know that some of these girls are helps. They are living in an environment where they are working under someone, and probably this man is always abusing them, and they have nobody to run to, nobody to talk to. We forget the fact that some of these people, their abusers, are their own parents.
Yeah.
Their fathers abuse, their fathers abusing daughters. Yeah. What do? You're forced by law to live under this person, and we don't have a society that encourages us to speak up. A lot of people don't speak up, you know, to the very last minute when the water is already under the bridge. People don't speak up. So there are cases where fathers are abusing their daughters, or stepfathers are abusing their daughters, and these children can't speak up because you know, they're going to bring shame. They're going to bring shame to the family, drag the family name in the mud. And so they sit down there while somebody who has been given the right to take care of these children, to protect them, turns back and abuses the same children he is supposed to protect. So you're abusing this child in the house. How do you expect this child to function, to properly function outside the home? You see these children outside, when they go to schools, they're withdrawn, they're exhibiting certain characteristics that do not, they're not developing as well as they should, because they are facing some sort of abuse. And I think for mothers, this has been said ever too often. If you have a child, if you have a daughter, talk to your child, have a conversation with your girl child. Yes, let her know that your body belongs to you. So she'll be comfortable enough to express herself. Yes. So if you come to a point where you notice that your daughter is withdrawing or has withdrawal syndromes, or is not being as vocal or communicative as she should be, talk to her and find out what is wrong. It's a very high possibility that someone in your house, in your neighborhood, is abusing your child right under your very nose.
Yeah, it's really bad, because when I looked at the actual statistics of women that went through violence in 2020, between the month of March to April, it increased at about 129%.
That's a huge increase. That's
a huge increase. So in March, we had over 346 women that went through physical abuse, violence, let's call it, that went through violence. And it increased to over 740-something women. I mean, in just a space of a month or two, we've had over 129% increase.
Yes.
It's something that we really need to, it's a total menace. It's something that we really need to look into. Because we've also realized that from age 15 to 49, we've had over 46% of women that have suffered physical violence. So it's a case of the man be the woman against the man, or the man against the woman, where the women don't have people to speak up for them, because that's like the society we live in today.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, we're going to be having a guest on today's show. Yes, we're going to be having a guest on today's show. We'd like to hear it from the men's perspective
as well. Yeah.
Let's see what is the actual issue. Why do men actually abuse?
Why are women targeted and abused?
Yes. Why do you actually abuse your wife, your intimate partner? Or the last time we were talking about something like gender inequality, and we're talking about income disparity. We talked about women being abused in the office spaces.
Yes, we did.
We talked about that, and it's just obvious that women are targeted. Like,
I think it's nice that we hear, so it's not a one-sided conversation, because we've been accused of having one-sided conversation. So we like to also hear from the other gender. Let's hear from the other.
Let's know why we have such an increase in spousal violence, really.
Yeah.
So we're going to go on a very quick break. When we're right back, you will be meeting our guest, who will be doing justice to this topic. Don't go nowhere. Stay with us.
They pay people pension. He's with the youth. He know they seek attention. Carry us along and show us the direction. We need a leader that can manage the economy, so that Nigeria itself will begin to make more money. This na person will go give us peace and harmony. Get your PVC. This one will be small warning. Him fit stop all the shooting. Kakakaka boyaka. Our youth need jobs. They need money to do data. I'm feeling you, Magneto. This na true matter. Now who they talk about? Atiku Abubakar.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard Flight 2023 Atiku Okowa 2023. I have my co-pilot here with me, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, keeping track on all navigation systems. Our destination is a united Nigeria. Right now, we're cruising at 2022 feet above sea level. Before we arrive at our destination, let me give you a brief update on what to expect at our destination. Number 1, the temperature is going to be hot on security issues. 2, the people are going to be better educated, and the educational system and healthcare will be accessible to every citizen. 3, the economy is going to be thriving and booming. And of course, there'll be true federalism. This and many more to be expected for a united and prosperous Nigeria. So sit back and relax, and before you know it, if we all join hands together, we shall arrive at the new united Nigeria we all dream of soon enough. My name is Atiku Abubakar. As one, we can get it done.
back if you're just joining us. This is Every Woman, your favorite morning show. Today we were looking at gender-based violence before we went on a break, and we're able to look at some of the major statistics we've had over the years on gender-based violence. Like I told you, we're going to be having a guest on the show. And this is like the first time we're having a man on our show. It's so good to have you here, Mr. Udoka. So Mr. Udoka is
walking into the lions then.
Yes, yes, yes. And he's so confident to come here, like you're here.
I mean, we're here to talk about.
We're talking about gender-based violence.
Yes,
and
yes.
you're here. You're
it's nice to have a representative.
To lend our voice to this issue.
Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
So Mr. Udoka is the multimedia strategist here in the city of Abuja, and we're also going to be hearing his aspect of gender-based violence. So Mr. Udoka, the thing is, we feel women are targeted, right? Because we've seen a high increase of violence against the woman in the couple of years, even this year, and in the months that have passed. Yeah, I want to ask, what is women actually targeted? Why do the men always have to abuse the women?
So I know you're good with the statistics. But I'm going to just put it out in layman's terms. I feel that, first of all, the patriarchy system lays a very bad foundation.
Also, there is a patriarchy system.
Of course, we know there's a patriarchy system.
Amazing.
There's a bad foundation where the man is Lord, the man is the provider. So we're having it. I feel like in our times now we're trying to. There's with the coming up of feminism and all this stuff. It makes the topic very dicey. But then another thing is, I personally feel that the issues will just be, let's look at the men now.
Yeah.
As a man, a lot of the young men around don't have basic foundational training when it comes to how to treat women right. You grow up in a setup where your father is the one who provides. He comes back home. By the time he's come back home, everybody's
disappearing, going to their thing.
Lord.
Mentality.
Mentality. You know, I mean, last week on the show here, when Iwoko came on board, she was talking about the young man in the Big Brother house.
Amazing. So you've been following up our shows. Wow.
So you have men who, when they look at a woman, the first thing that comes to their mind is, you are beneath me. You are. If you're earning more than myself, I find a way. If I need to be with you, I find a way to
put you constantly beneath.
Yeah. So that's where you find the emotional, psychological abuse when you have when talking to the women, treating them. So it's one of the, for me, I feel it's one of the major factors.
So you think it's a failure? You think it's a failure of the upbringing that the men are brought up to feel superior to the women?
Well, I mean, that's the system. I mean, if you're a woman too, you know how it is.
Yeah, because in many households, what we see is the woman, you go and wash plates. Your brothers will just,
you have to go to the kitchen, and the men have to be the ones to sit on the table and wait for you to come.
To bring the food, and then you do the dishes after. So yeah, gender roles really. So we've taught the women, or we've taught our men to believe that they're superior to the women in some way.
You know, in some cases, when a guy is seen to play these roles, they are thought of as feminists, as a feminine kind of guy, like a guy who takes his time to,
look after a woman,
after the home, a man who decides to say, wash his wife's undies, stuff like that. You take out time to do stuff for your wife,
They feel like a weak man.
Because women wash their men's undies all the time, and it's not a big deal. So when you reverse the rules, but how has this, how does this translate to gender violence? Like violence against the woman, this superiority, this Lord complex, like you said, how does that translate to violence against the woman?
I mean, for every woman that you see that's experiencing a kind of violence, of course, it stems from that. Probably the guy is angry at the woman over something that she doesn't even know about, or she just doesn't like the woman. I mean, you were saying. Of course, I mean, you were saying something about like they have to stay in the same space. I mean, how would you, if I don't like you, please, what are you doing around my space?
Then why'd you go ahead to be with the woman
some
you
of
don't
them are
like
married.
the woman? Why'd you go ahead to marry the woman if you can't tolerate her? Because this boils down to tolerance. And don't forget that the women also tolerate the men, because if we have to live in the same space, we are not from the same backgrounds. You're actually going to hurt me, I'm going to hurt you as well. So that boils down to tolerance. So why would you be in the same space with someone you cannot tolerate?
You see, this thing, a lot of us have very wrong mentality about this life. You get, as you said, this tolerance thing. If I feel that I should not, if I feel that I don't love you enough, why go ahead? So, you know, so there's the backstory to these issues are so much. There's a lot to it. The purpose why you're in that relationship, why are you there? A lot of time people go into relationship for wrong reasons. So if we say let's begin to dissect these issues, even there are bigger issues that still they're detailed, they're little things, because the man didn't start beating his wife
today. So there's been some sort of foundation.
Some foundational issues have been going on, probably from the guy's side, from the woman's side. So we can't even.
I want to ask. A lot of people say the women are responsible. A lot of men, when you bring up these issues, they usually just come out and say it's the lady's fault. She's responsible. She must have pushed that man. Now, as a man, do you think this is true? That the women in some way force these men to, you know, to be physical or violent with them?
Okay, not to go in the way of violence, because you're women here, so let me know what But you women, you know that sometimes you can be a handful. That is one. Are we agreed on that? Good.
Well, we'll think
about it.
You're still thinking about it. You can ask the men, you know. But on the other hand, as a man, for you to say I'm going into a serious business as relationship, people think going to a relationship is just because I like the girl, I want to. It's a big
deeper
business.
than that.
Yes. Or I'm taking a more serious business as settling down with this person. You should understand that she's coming from a different background.
Yeah.
And I'm coming from a different background. So I should be able, as the man, as they say, be the man in every situation. Be able to always put empathy. You know, she did something wrong. Okay, why did she do this? Okay, how do we fix this? You know, if it's something you've spoken about to her 1, 2, 3 times, and there's nothing, there are other ways to go about these things.
Okay, so
not to go hitting them and.
So you agree that there are other ways to settle this that doesn't have to result in violence.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so now I'll have to chip this in there. I'll have to ask you this question because we've been talking about the physical violence. We haven't actually talked about the emotional violence.
And psychological violence.
Yes, psychological violence. We have a lot of men that don't hit their wife, but what they do is worse than
it makes the woman question herself, whether she's enough or whether she's doing something wrong.
So let's talk about the emotional violence. Why would you have to go to that length, right? What would be the instance, or what would have provoked you to have to abuse your wife emotionally? We've seen cases where your girls go through rape and they say, okay, because she was dressed provocatively. But why did you wear what you were wearing? Maybe because of what you were wearing, that's why they raped you. So what would have caused a man to actually abuse his wife emotionally and psychologically? Because that's really draining.
A woman generally doesn't even have to be his spouse or his wife or anything. They're just
this emotional. I mean, personally, because I'm married too, so I understand emotional abuse. Sometimes it's not really the man really taking. Okay, let me put it this way. Let me cite an example. Okay, so you are a man. You need to provide. All right.
Yeah.
That is unintentional. Actually, I'm going. Well, let's play soft first before we go hard. All right. So unintentional. I need to go hustle. I need to go work, and then I didn't have a good day at my business. All right. Now, sometimes I will say to the women, don't put your expectation of happiness should not be on your man.
Okay.
Because he too, it should be a support system. You know, it should be a support system. Because however you want to put it, except you have those demented men, we have cases like that. You know, so
like people that cook pepper soup with.
People that cook pepper soup.
You understand? Those are, or you know, but on a basic day, sometimes the women put so much pressure on the man to the point that it's like a bounce off.
So that's the man lashing out.
It's just a bounce off of some form of pressure. In some cases, but in some other cases, it's still bounce off because the man looks at it like, look, how do I get back to you? I can't touch you. What do I do to you?
Okay.
You know, so it's like this. Women don't like to be ignored.
Okay, so the men know that.
Yes.
Okay.
Know that. So the women don't like to be ignored. The women don't like emotional. The woman's emotional need is basically to be loved, to be shown the love, to be not just say it, express. So saying is one, expressing is two. So the balance, if this one is, if you're showing it too much and never saying it,
there's a problem. It has to be in the right balance.
You guys are, no matter how hard you guys try to make it, you guys are kind of like on the soft side of life, you know, because you think you go emotional first. We are the guys, we just see, come on, we're good. But the woman have to process, and then deliver her verdict based on. So for the man, it's just, I'm saying this so that whoever is listening can take time out with whatever situation they are in and ask certain questions that would reflect, is this thing bouncing off from my own pressure towards him or my own reaction, you know, towards this man? And then
okay, so that brings me to the question. So what are the things we can do to prevent this? Because a lot of people are listening to you right now. What can be done? What's advice you're giving out there? What are the ideas you're putting out there? How can we prevent GBV from happening? But whether it's physical abuse
or emotional
abuse or any kind of abuse. I've had cases of men raping their wives.
And I think a lot of people think that's not a thing, but a lot of women are raped by their husbands. I mean, it's supposed to be between two consenting adults. If it's not consenting, then, you know, if it's not consensual, it's rape. It doesn't matter if you're married to this person or not. But of course, we don't see a lot of women coming out to say their husbands raped them, because rape has a you can get arrested for that.
And can't even put rape in the context of marriage. It sounds somehow like.
But then it is a thing, because if I mean we have people that have separated from their spouses now coming out to say, oh, we were abused whilst we were in this relationship. They're not together anymore, but these people have been abused. So how do you as a man abuse your own wife? Like, it means the man might not be sensitive to her needs or sensitive to how she is feeling. So like she said, like what can you do? What can we do as women and as men to prevent occurrences of gender-based violence, especially within the home?
So let me start from the end. If you're not enjoying the marriage and you feel you can't handle it, please divorce. Leave.
Okay.
That's the end part of it.
It's better than
all these long stories.
Than ending up dead.
Ending up dead and all that. That's when it comes to like people like the case of Osinachi.
It was better for her to have gone.
You see videos of where a man beats his wife, where you see a guy beats his girlfriend, and you see major cuts on their body. I'm like, how did you even have the mind to beat up somebody to that point where the person's skin tears up to that point? Like literally, you see blood. Do you understand? I mean, the person is this person Jesus Christ that you're trying to crucify? No. Do you understand? I mean, there are things you see, you literally go think this way, you know. But on the other hand, the women, I mean, I can't even, I'm literally trying to think right now. There's really not, if gender-based, what is violence, physical violence for me, leave that relationship or that marriage, that's it.
Yeah, so if you're facing physical violence in any form,
please get out of that place.
Leave the relationship. But what if you're facing emotional violence or psychological violence? What do you do? Do you leave as well?
If you know, some people can handle, some people cannot handle. If you cannot handle, leave. But then the thing is being able to find out the root cause of this thing. Sometimes we get really emotional and then you don't take time to do an introspective look at things. You find out what happened. When did this whole thing start?
How did you get to this point?
How did you get to this point? And sometimes we need to be humble enough to face the fact that, oh, I messed up. Can we
work things out
for this thing? Can we? Because for the men really, love is not respect. The woman might have triggered one disrespectful act, and the guy just got the guy on the wrong day, and then he just started taking off. You know, some people can handle, some people cannot handle it. So for those who are in the situation like that, I feel you should take time to look back. If it's something that you pretty much found out, talk to your husband about it. If your husband is not listening, go ahead. Probably have a pastor, an imam, a family member that he respects, somebody that he listens to. If he doesn't go down, my dear, there's a door.
Some sort of separation.
There's a door.
Moment.
Yes.
Okay. So
I think try to make sure that you stretch resolution to its limit. If you get to that point and you feel this thing doesn't work,
you can work
just let it go.
Okay, Mr. Udoka, just before you go, let's quickly talk about child marriage, right? Because I think you talked about root cause. You talked about root cause, and I feel, my opinion, some of major issues we have about GBV starts from child marriage, because this child is defenseless, and then you get to have issues like sexual abuse. That's where the rape comes in. That's where you have exploitation and all of that. So let's talk a little bit about
even the
child
disrespect, because when you say these are people from most times the people that are marrying these young children are older people, more mature people that have different realities from the realities of that child at that age. So of course there's bound to be disrespect when you have a 30, 40-year-old man that is sleeping with a 13-year-old girl or married to a 13-year-old girl. Well, of course, you can expect that they're not thinking in the same light, in the same way. And you're sleeping with this child. This child has started to see you is no longer seeing you as an elder, as an adult. They're seeing you like their mate. And they're probably going to do something that is going to come off as disrespectful to you as the man. And like you said, this can result in, the man lashing out at this person because they're like, how would a small child like this be talking to me, in this manner? So,
Mr. Doka, you have something to add to that?
No, for me, child marriages, I schooled in university in Jos. Okay. So the times you will go to Jos and then there's something they call something fistula, where
the child is trying to, when somebody that a child is trying to, is mature enough to push out children. The process
of childbirth. And when you see that, I feel like education is not about school. Why would you put a child through stress that her body is not
ready for?
It doesn't make any sense to me. For those that do it, I don't know what. It's a demented thought. It's a demented kind of thinking because, as we say in the streets, look, women fool everywhere. Like there are women, like literally grown up, matured women out there that you can actually.
They are ready for
serious businesses. Yeah. Not a child who has not even understood. Some of these children have to enjoy their childhood.
Yeah. Like you snatching
enjoy their childhood.
Stolen their childhood away from
them.
Play
with your friends.
Go out, have fun.
There's that's why it's like there's the way everything should be. By the time you're 20, 25, for some people they get married at even 18. I feel
18 is fine.
18 is even fine based on the law and all that. But 20, 25, you're getting 20, 22, 23, that age, you're getting yourself, you're knowing what you want. But this child, she doesn't know what she wants. So you're basically forcing.
And the child is going to actually act like a child because she is a child.
Of course. Now, what do you expect? She's going to act like a child.
Well, it's been an amazing time here with Mr. Udoka at the studio. I think we really need to talk about this.
I think we'll have a part 2.
We'll have a part 2 with a female guest. This time around, we need to hear it. Yeah.
We need to come back. We didn't even exhaust. I'm not sure Tiana did, but I didn't exhaust all the questions that I had.
All right. So this is where we get to read our tweets. IJ, do we have a?
Please,
our phone lines are open. We have our guest in the studio. Do well to call us in. I'm sure he'll be ready to take whatever questions you have.
So Chama is saying that I fear that religious leaders believe their congregants and faithfuls are exempt from admonitions on agency and sexual and gender-based violence for whatever reason. They are not. Nigeria is split almost evenly between Muslims and Christians. Look at our SGBV numbers. Speak on it. So this is like pushing on the religious leaders to really come out and speak about these things, because within your congregation there are people who are being abused and there are people who are abusing people. We've seen with the case of Osinachi, both the abuser and the abused were within religious communities. So it's left to our imams and our preachers or pastors to really speak about this and let people know how to behave. Let the men know how to behave towards their women, and let the women also know how to behave towards their men.
So let's take one more tweet before we.
So I want to ask you that. So let the women also speak out. Mostly when it comes to religious setups. A lot of times they feel, some of them maybe they are at the higher levels of their ministry or their work in church, and they feel, oh, I don't know what they think. Maybe they feel, if I speak out now, it might have a bad image on my family, on the church, and stuff like that. If you are in a setup that is not making sense, as I said, speak out. Let people know. Let somebody you trust.
Try every aspect
to save yourself, because we all need to be at that very good frame of mind. Life is hard already. Please, let's.
Okay, I think this is the most we can take. We're going to take the next tweet when we have our second guest. And when we're talking about GBV part 2, we're going to have to read all of those tweets. This is the most we can take on today's episode of Every Woman. It's been an amazing time with you all joining us. I've had a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot from Mr. Udoka. Thank you so much for being our guest. You did justice to it. I'm sure
we should even bring you back with our next guest so that we have a balanced plenary session.
So thank you so much. Please do well to drop your comments, your suggestions on the social media handles that are displayed right now on your screen. My name is Tiana Waldbasi. I get to see you tomorrow.
My name is Ijoma Udumudu. I'll see you guys tomorrow too. Bye.
Thank you.